But I'll be damned if down the road, all of a sudden the bass player didn't decide, I've got this great song and we're going to do this. Well, then the drummer comes up with a song. Then everybody wants to start writing music. And it's like, that wasn't part of the deal. You know, you play lead, I play rhythm and sing. I write the music for the band. If you come up with something and I like it, it'll be in the band. But just because you wrote it and you're a member of the band doesn't, it wasn't part of what you were hired to do to start with.
Yeah, but it can get away from you too. It can easily get away from you. I knew this guy named Peter Hunt.
Let it get away from you, though.
If you, whether you let it get away from you or not, I knew this guy named Peter Hunt.
Yeah.
He was a real good player, and he sang, I think, backup. And he hired this guy named Gary to sing for his band, and they were doing well, and they had some success, and they even had a single on the radio. And then they decided they didn't like Peter as the songwriter anymore, or the guitar player anymore, and they brought in this guy named Nuno. And Nuno replaced Peter.
I think we probably can figure out who Nuno is.
Yeah, there's not too many Nunos, but yeah. Peter Hunt was
from Boston.
Peter Hunt was the first guitarist in Extreme, and they were doing pretty well. And it was his band, and he found Gary Sharon and brought him in. And Gary's a dick. And
can't sing.
That's notwithstanding, they were doing well, and the rest of the band basically said, "Hey, we'd rather have this guy on guitar. He's a hotter player." And Peter's band went on without him.
Yeah.
So, you know, the roles were defined, but he got ousted from his own band.
He got ousted from his own band.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, yeah, but that's a little bit of Darwinism there. I mean, you know.
Yeah, it is, but bands are very Darwinistic.
They are. I mean, the cream rises to the top.
I mean, ask Pete Best or Paul Di'Anno. But what are the things you did that worked well to keep it together?
For me, when I was like 15, I was playing with all older guys. So I was like the little protege, so I learned from that. And then after that, I either did one of two things. I was working for another guy who was the band leader, who chose the songs, who wrote the set list, who booked the gigs. I showed up and played and did what I was told. And now I'm pretty much, well, the three different things I'm in, and one of them, I'm like the guy that books the gigs. I'm the one that knows how much we're getting paid, and I hire the other guys.
There's always one person who ends up doing most of the work, the grunt work, not necessarily the fun work or the playing work or the creative work.
Right.
It's the guy who makes everything go, and sometimes it's the same guy who's the creative force. And, you know,
right,
I think you've always been that guy in your situations, right? You were always the guy who made everything work.
There's a division of labor there, though.
Did you be able to delegate it?
Well, it kind of fell apart sort of naturally. I mean, I'm good behind the scenes, but I'm not good talking to people. And my co-writer is no good behind the scenes, but very good at talking to people. So we sort of split it up that way. Right. She had her area, I had my area.
Right, well that's pretty good.
So, you know, and where we got in trouble was when one or the other of us would try to step in the other guy's area.
I usually
and that would cause a lot of problems.
But that's what I meant before too. I mean, you've got to have boundaries where each person fits in and they know what they're expected to do. But as soon as you start doing something that somebody else in the band is the one that's supposed to be doing that, you start stepping on each other's toes, and all of a sudden, whatever camaraderie there is right out the window.
Right. Well, and that's just like the point where you become a professional musician, and the point before you get there that you have to deal with all that, because you know, I can see that happening when you're kids and when it's getting together like that, but when you're like doing paid gigs with professional guys,
yeah,
I mean, come on, man. You play Gaga Gaga bass when you're supposed to. I don't care if you don't want to or not. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, there's still many. I mean, the situations I was always in. I was always the guy who had to make everything go, and because I was playing with people who basically, if I could get them to show up, that was about the best I could do.
Well,
and the rest of it is like, you know, I had drummers who were like, who would quit the band the day of the gig specifically because they wanted us to set up his drum kit.
Oh man.
And it's
fuck
like,
that
you know
guy.
what? I don't want to play anymore. It's like, oh come on, Pete, we'll set up your kit for you. Just show up. We've had the gig for a month. You can't quit today. It's like, well, if you set up my kit, all right.
You set up my kid up.
Yeah,
so,
it's
oh,
like, yeah,
God.
that kind of horse shit.
Well, and the other issue is when you're the main mover in the shaker and you're like naturally the alpha male, it's harder to get good people to play with you because it's all like you're bumping heads. And
No, I think that's true. It doesn't necessarily correlate to whether they're a good player or not. It correlates more to the personality type. A band needs leaders and followers, okay? Now, followers can be really good players. I've known some people who will just show up, do their job really well, but they're mentally, they're not there for you beyond that.
absolutely right.
And you know, if you know that and it's a known commodity, that's great. But if you're expecting them to do anything else, like promote,
Right,
forget it.
right.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. And
Well,
just,
they don't really have a stake. They don't have anything to gain by doing that.
no, but then
Because they don't have a
you're
stake.
dragging them along.
Yeah.
You're dragging them along, and
Right.
it's really tough.
Right.
Now, see, that was my failing, though. I could never handle any of the business end of it. I mean, I was fine for coming up with new songs, and I was fine for
Yeah, that's the
doing my
way. That's
part,
the way we operated.
But there's just, when it came to, I'm not a people person. I don't handle people well. So, I mean, if you sent me out looking to get us a contract or something, we'd be in the garage forever, you know, it's just.
No, but if
handle.
for example, if someone told you to hand out 500 flyers, or
Yeah,
go
well, sure.
hit this street with 500 flyers, and you'd have to
It's easy.
occasionally walk into a store and say, hey, can I put this in your window?
Yeah, it's easy to follow orders, but I mean, for me
Yeah.
to take the lead and to make the business decisions and how much do you think we should get paid? and
Well, there
where-
were a couple of
would-
things I wanted
never
to
had
hit in
anything
here.
to
Yeah,
do
well,
with
go
it.
ahead. Go ahead.
Because let me follow the notes here. It says best things you did to keep it going. How to put a band together. Best things you did to keep it going. Number one thing that I personally did when I was the most successful was I had a goal, I had a plan, and I worked to the plan. So, and the goal doesn't necessarily have to be, sign $2 million record contract or whatever. It can be simple. It can be record 4 songs in a real studio with a decent producer and get a decent demo tape out of it, or it can, you can make it as small as it doesn't have to be huge, and you just follow the steps.
Was
you
it
know?
your plan, or did everybody agree on it?
It was mine, because the whole thing hatched in my apartment. It was just me deciding that, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And once I'd made that decision, I mean, at that point, it was a one-person band. And once I made the decision and started following this proper steps, I started meeting people, I started hooking up with the right people, I bumped into Paula, and we just went from there. But nothing would have happened if I hadn't have taken that first step, to say, okay, before my 25th birthday, I'm gonna do this, and that's kind of how it started. And then the bar got adjusted, as you went up the line. Let's see.
Rich, you got anything?
I'm gonna have to take a pass on this one. Last time I was in a band was 1983.
Me too, but I mean,
I don't know, I just got discouraged and just too lazy in my old age to try to find people, and network myself, and I just rather, stay in my bedroom.
the point we're making over and over again is this is really, really hard, and it'll take a lot out of you. And you've got, if you're really committed to doing